Okay, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Cookalong, where we're going to be featuring a recipe from EatLove, which is the meal planning software that we utilize for clients working with us. Today, we do have a guest cook. This is Avery, who's a student learning about nutrition and dietetics. And she will be featuring a really delicious and simple plant-based recipe for us today. And you can take it away, Avery.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so today I'm going to be making tabbouleh. It's a chickpea couscous tabbouleh. So this recipe involves parsley, chickpeas, couscous, cucumber, tomatoes, red onion, Parmesan cheese, and lemon juice and olive oil. So, I'm going to just get started. I bought this kind of couscous, which is a little bit different than I think what tabbouleh uses a lot of the time. It's more of a thicker, more coarse grain that resembles more like pasta versus a smaller grain. But it's still really good and I think it'll work. So I already have prepared that. So um, if you were to make it, it's just very similar to other kinds of grain over the stove. So you just boil water, put the grain in, and then let it simmer for 8 to 10 minutes. So, okay, this recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of couscous. Let me double check that. Yep, 2 tablespoons. So I'm just going to add it to the bowl. It doesn't seem like very much, but we'll see. I've never made tabbouleh before. Okay, and then next is the chickpeas, and I've already drained them. Um, and it calls for a quarter cup of chickpeas, drained and rinsed. Next, I will get the parsley. Calls for a quarter cup of this as well, and just chopped. I haven't used parsley very much either, so I hope I'm using it correctly. Edith, you can correct me if needed.
No, you're doing great. And I love that you chose a recipe that is a little bit unfamiliar, maybe eaten before, but perhaps not made before. And I love
Yeah.
that you've demonstrated so using couscous, it's a great grain, got lots of nutrients, and it's something you can also make ahead of time. And then the chickpea is also something very easy ingredient. Quick, all you gotta do is buy the can, rinse it real quick, and then it can be used, and it's a great plant protein source. And then parsley is a pretty hardy herb that you can purchase, and it can kind of stay for quite a while. It does have a very unique taste, so maybe not everyone is used to that, but I really enjoy it, especially in tabbouleh salad. And just like a rough chop, don't have to have perfect cooking or knife skills for this one.
Definitely good for me. I'm not great at chopping. Okay, so quarter cup.
Tabbouleh salad is something you can also make ahead, and it can kind of keep, it's a more hearty salad overall that can be kept in the fridge for a few days. So make once and eat it over multiple meals.
I definitely like to meal prep, so if I was making this for the week, I'd be making a lot more, but this is just a single serving for now. So, okay. So next I'll do the cucumber, and this calls for a third cup cucumber chopped. And I'm gonna leave the skin on just because I like the texture, but definitely can feel free to peel it. And then I'm going to try and make it as thinly chopped as possible, just somewhat of a personal preference. I like chopping vegetables very small.
And if you have one of those dicer contraption things, that's also really good to utilize. Makes everything uniform, also quick and easy to chop everything, because sometimes the hardest part about preparing vegetables is the washing and chopping. And so I highly recommend one of those devices if you don't have one. I don't know the official name, but it's one that like usually comes with multiple attachments where you can do dice, like fine dice, larger dices. It can also grate and slice things as well. And I love chopped salad, so that contraption is a great investment for me because I feel like chopped salads taste better, but it just makes it much easier to chop things really quickly.
Okay, so there. Cucumbers. I definitely could just add this all, but I'm gonna stick to the recipe. Next, I'm gonna dice the tomato. We just need 2 tablespoons of this. And cutting tomatoes is one of my least favorite things. They seem to just squish all out. It's not very pretty. I don't know the magic trick, but
I think it has to do with the knife.
okay. Do you know what kind of knife is best?
So my knife set is, it came with like one that has like holes in it. So it's like still got the blade
Okay.
in the bottom, but then on in the middle of it, it has like these holes. I don't know like if there's a special name for that, but that's the one that they said was a tomato knife. But definitely like it's better that you did choose one that's serrated.
Yeah. Seems to work a little better.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, next is the red onion. It's 1 tablespoon. Sometimes red onion I'm not a huge fan of, because it can mess up, like, make my stomach feel a little bit off, but there's only a tablespoon in this. Okay.
And if you'll see in this recipe, lots of different colors, and the time that it takes to make this is really not that much. It's just really dependent on whether or not you like chopping things. And all of these things you could actually theoretically chop in advance and then keep it for later for other recipes throughout the week as well. Or you can just make one really large salad for this. And then again, if you have one of those dicers, that's something that would definitely make this recipe much faster and easier to make.
Okay, next is going to be Parmesan, but I actually do not have Parmesan. I don't typically buy dairy products, but my roommate did have feta, so I'm gonna use feta cheese instead, which I don't know if there's any particular health reason why you might choose Parmesan over feta, but Edith, I don't know if you have anything to say about that. But
Yeah, feta, I like feta. It's a good cheese that I do recommend. And it's a small amount, so it's fine to include some. Yeah, I'm not sure why they actually put Parmesan on that recipe, but feta is the one that I would actually more think of to utilize for this recipe. And then if you don't want to do any cheese or dairy, you can also sub maybe something like nutritional yeast as well.
next is the olive oil, just 1 tablespoon. I think this just serves as kind of a dressing, because then we'll add the lemon as well. So I'll just drizzle this.
Another tip actually for the veggies is a lot of grocery stores now also have pre-chopped things. So if chopping is not your thing, or you just really don't want to or don't have the time, you can purchase a lot of pre-chopped onion that I've seen at stores like Vaughn's, Pavilions, or Trader Joe's.
Then I'm just going to give a good squeeze. Instead of just 1 tablespoon, I'll just kind of estimate. I think that everything. Let me just double check. Yeah, it looks like it's all in there. So it looks very pretty.
Can you
I
bring it
like
up a
Edith said,
little?
lots of different colors.
Can you bring it up a
Oh,
little closer?
yes.
Yeah,
Can you see
looks it's so colorful, so nice. And then if you wanted to, you can also add like seasonings like garlic powder, cayenne pepper, things like that if you wanted to. Also black pepper. Lots of salt-free seasonings that you can include with this. And again, like she made this in less than 15 minutes. If you did have to make the couscous ahead, that would have just taken an additional like 8 to 10 minutes, like she mentioned. But that's also something like similar to rice, making it ahead of time. Resistant starch that can build from cooked, cool, and cooled grains. So cooking once and then putting it in the fridge or freezer, letting it cool, and then having it again builds resistant starch, which is like a fiber and is good for us and isn't processed the same as a standard carb is.
it is done. I'll give it a try. I don't remember the last time I've had tabbouleh actually, so I'm excited.
And this dish is more eaten in like Middle Eastern Mediterranean, but So delicious.
It's very good. It's very simple, but has a lot of flavor and it tastes healthy. So it's good.
It's delicious. It looks so good. And
Yes.
definitely making it at home yourself. Like she didn't even put in salt, which is awesome. So if you need to follow a salt-free diet, this is perfect. If you're okay with having sodium in your diet and you have, no issues with that, you can still add a little bit of salt too if you like. But like I mentioned, being able to add in other seasonings and flavors. But like again, this was made in less than 15 minutes, and she could probably make 4 other servings using the rest of the ingredients.
I have a lot left over.
So thank you so much, Avery, for sharing that with us. If
Thank
you
you.
anyone has any questions, you can pop them in the chat. If you're watching the replay of this, you can also send me a message if you have any questions about this. So when you log into EatLove, this is what you see. If you wanted to expand the menu, of course, you can always hit expand. And what I just did was click click swap, and then I'll do search foods and recipes. Then when you do this is when you can hit this filter button to the right of the search bar. And then here is where you will see all of that stuff. So you can see all of these filter options for yourself. So for the dish types, I just wanted to bring this up. If you're going to like an event or something and it's a potluck style, you can also look up a bunch of different things that you can consider bringing. You can also, again, like I was saying earlier too, total time. So again, if you don't want to spend too much time in the kitchen, looking for something under 15 minutes or from 15 to 30 minutes. And then remember too that once you choose a recipe, I'm gonna pick pumpkin. I'm gonna search for pumpkin right now, just because Thanksgiving pumpkin is kind of popular right now. So you wanted to bring something and you ended up choosing it. And if you can select the recipe. And once you do that, you can click the 3 dots to the side of it. And this is, again, if you're making a big batch, but click the 3 dots, hit change serving. And then it's going to include you already. And then if you wanted to, you're going to bring this to a party, there's going to be like 8 people total, including yourself. You're going to add 7, and then it's going to upscale the recipe up to 8 servings so that you don't need to do extra math. It's already going to bring up everything for you, and then that's it. And then it'll tell you how to split it. Obviously, it's going to be 8 servings. You're going to split it amongst 8 people. But you don't need to worry too much about that. So that's something that I really wanted to highlight and share. Again, I've had, working with people this week, we're talking about Thanksgiving and how to prepare for that. And when you have EatLove as a resource, it's something where you don't necessarily need to think too much about what you're going to do or worry too much about your diet, especially if you have some diet restrictions or limitations. Following this will help to ensure that you're staying within your limits because we put in that specific prescription for you. So really cool feature. Also, if you're not too great in the kitchen and want to kind of brush up on a few things, you can also, in your account, go to the Nutrition Academy, where there's a bunch of resources as well for time-saving kitchen hacks, food safety, food prep. So there's like if you're not sure, if it says like julienne this or dice this and you're not really sure what exactly that means, there's also these handouts as well to kind of teach you what those terms mean and help you in the kitchen. Okay, I hope that this was informative, and I hope that you'll consider preparing the dish that Avery prepared. And remember, you can make swaps too. It doesn't have to, a standard tabbouleh does have these ingredients, but let's say you didn't have, maybe you didn't have the garbanzo beans, but you had a different bean. I sometimes just make that 1-to-1 swap. If you don't like certain vegetables that are in there, you can also swap. I think like something like a bell pepper might fit well with this. Other vegetables might not necessarily pair with this, but we all have our own different taste preferences, and it's okay to maybe want to switch something for something else. Again, remember that this platform has a lot of recipes and different features that you can do to make the most of it and make it work best for you. One last thing too, if you are craving a specific food, and you can search it up and it'll pull up recipes that work also within the plan. I may have already shown this. I'm always looking at the nachos because they always look so colorful and beautiful. But again, it's going to pull up a lot of different options that you can choose from and utilize. So that is it for today. And thank you all for watching.